seeing your husband, who told you he was on a business trip, intimately wrapped around another woman at the airport. But that wasn't even the worst part. What I overheard next shattered my entire world and made my blood run cold. It all started innocently enough. I was at John F. Kennedy International Airport, saying goodbye to my best friend, Ashley. Her flight to Miami was delayed, and she'd insisted I go home to Noah. Go home to Noah, she'd said, you'll see me in a week. But I wasn't in a hurry. My house, for months, hadn't felt like a home. Ethan, my husband, a senior partner at his law firm, was always working late, always stressed. His mind was miles away, even when I told him I was pregnant with our second child. I'm a family physician, used to spotting symptoms, but with him, my professional intuition just vanished. I'd told myself he was just stressed. I decided to grab a bottle of water before heading back. As I walked towards a coffee shop, my world collapsed. There, tucked away in a corner, was Ethan. My husband. The man who, the night before, swore he was flying to Chicago. He was embracing a young blonde woman in a flashy pink suit. She clung to him like a lovesick teenager, not a colleague. My heart hammered against my ribs. My mouth went dry. I ducked behind a pillar, praying they hadn't seen me. He was stroking her hand, saying something I couldn't quite catch. She laughed, a light, tinkling sound. That's when I recognized her. Pamela. The 25-year-old paralegal from his office. The one he'd mentioned so often. Pamela has a great idea, Pamela is brilliant, Pamela stays late to work overtime. Oh, now I knew exactly what they were streamlining after work. A wave of nausea hit me, not morning sickness, but pure, unadulterated betrayal. 5 years of marriage. 1 son. Another baby on the way, just 12 weeks along. Did it all mean nothing to him? I wanted to scream. To storm over there, demand answers, make a scene. But something stopped me. Maybe it was a survival instinct, or my doctor's discipline, gather all the information before you act. I moved slowly, using other passengers as cover, inching closer. Close enough to hear. Soon, everything will be settled, Ethan was saying, stroking Pamela's cheek. In court, we'll get everything down to the last dime. Pamela's voice was worried. What if she suspects something? Ethan actually smirked. Emily? She's too trusting. She's a doctor, not a lawyer. She doesn't understand the complexities of estate law. Besides, he added dismissively, she's pregnant now. Emotionally unstable. Even if she understood something, who would believe her? Emotionally unstable? My teeth clenched so hard I thought they'd crack. Oh, I'd show him unstable. But what if she sees the documents? Pamela pressed, still uneasy. The documents, the evidence, the will? It's all in my red folder, and that folder is in my office, he said with infuriating confidence. She has no access. After the hearing, we'll be millionaires. Millionaires. And your wife, your son? Pamela asked. We'll get a divorce. I'll leave her enough so she doesn't starve. I'll take the boy. A boy needs his father. He actually shrugged. And the one on the way? We'll see. Maybe it won't even come to term with all this stress. My blood went cold. This man, the father of my children, was calmly planning to not just leave me, but to rob me blind, take our son, and dismiss our unborn child with a casual shrug. They're calling for boarding for the flight to Miami, Pamela said, standing up. It's time to go, honey. Miami. Not Chicago. Another lie. Ethan kissed her. A long, passionate kiss. A kiss I hadn't received in over a year. In 1 week, he whispered, we'll be free and rich. They walked towards the gate. I watched them, feeling something inside me break. It wasn't my heart, that was already numb. What shattered were my illusions. My trust. My faith. My family. But as the initial pain subsided, a cold, calculating rage took its place. Ethan had underestimated me. Yes, I was a doctor, not a lawyer. But I was intelligent, observant, and had an excellent memory. And I had something Ethan completely lacked, a conscience. Red folder, in the office. I repeated it to myself. I had a second key to his office, at home. He'd given it to me for emergencies. Well, this was an emergency. I managed a faint, chilling smile. Ethan wanted to play a game? Fine. But he'd forgotten that in any game, there's only one winner. And I had no intention of losing. I called Mrs. Davis, my son's caregiver. Mrs. Davis, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands, could you watch Noah tonight? Something very urgent has come up. Back home, my 4-year-old, Noah, greeted me with a drawing. Mommy, look. It's us, the family, he beamed. How would I explain there was no family anymore? That his father chose another woman and was ready to take everything? I kissed his head. It's beautiful, sweetie. Mrs. Davis noticed my pallor. Honey, is something wrong? Nothing, just tired, I lied. But I need to go to Ethan's office. It's urgent. Could you stay with Noah until tomorrow? She agreed, concerned. I fed Noah, read him a story about a good wizard defeating evil witches. He fell asleep smiling. If only life were like fairy tales. At 10 p.m., I drove to Park Avenue. Ethan's firm occupied 2 floors of a modern skyscraper. His office, a corner suite with mahogany and leather, reeked of success. Or so I thought. I found a side street, parked, and took out the small silver key. I'd given it to him for our first anniversary, a keychain shaped like the scales of justice. Justice above all else, he'd said. Oh, the cruel irony. The door opened easily. I crept up to the 2nd floor, my heels making no sound on the marble. Ethan's office was neat, documents stacked precisely. A safe in the corner. Shelves crammed with binders. No red folder in sight. I turned on the desk lamp and began my search. Drawers, filing cabinets, nothing. Where could it be? Then I saw it. A small cabinet, locked with a common padlock. Strange. Why lock that? The 3rd key on Ethan's keychain fit. The cabinet door swung open. And there they were, several red folders, stacked neatly. My heart hammered. The first was Andrade M. The second, Castro P.N. The third, Jennings, C.S. This name made me freeze. Catherine Jennings. My great-aunt Catherine. My late mother's sister. She'd passed 6 months ago, childless. She'd always said her inheritance would go to her only grandniece. Me. I opened the folder. It was a will, bequeathing all of Catherine's assets, an apartment on the Upper East Side worth $800,000, a house, bank savings, to Ethan Hayes, as a close family friend. You bastard, I whispered. I'd seen my aunt's original will. It clearly stated, all my assets to my grandniece, Emily Hayes. Signature, date, notary seal. All legal. This was a fake. A very, very good one. He'd used his position, his access, to replace the documents. I photographed every page of that fake will. Then I went through the rest. 7 folders. 7 forged wills. Totaling over $7 million. How long had this been going on? 3 years, judging by the dates. Right after he got promoted and gained access to wills. But that wasn't all. I found a second cell phone. I unlocked it using Noah's birthday. Text messages between Ethan and Pamela. Honey, I settled another document today. Old man Morales didn't even realize he was signing a deed of gift in my favor instead of a will for his grandson. When he dies, a mansion in Greenwich will be ours. Love, you're a genius. Soon we can buy a villa in Italy and live there like royalty, And let your wife stay with her medicines and her patients. Pamela, we just have to close the last case, my wife's inheritance. That's where most of the money is. After that, we'll disappear. I'll file for divorce, take the boy, and we'll both go to Italy. Rage and disgust churned inside me. They weren't just cheating on me, they were robbing defenseless elderly people. How many families had lost their inheritance to their greed? I photographed every message. Next, his laptop. Password, Noah's birthday. A model father. I smiled bitterly. In his email, more evidence. Diagrams of the fraud, lists of victims, money laundering plans. All perfectly organized, hidden in plain sight. Arrogant fool, I thought, copying the files to the USB stick I'd found earlier. He was so sure of himself, he hadn't even encrypted it. I went back to the red folders. One document made me gasp, my face draining of color. A petition. To strip me of my parental rights over Noah. Citing defendant's mental instability and inability to provide adequate care for the minor. It was dated for the next day. So that was the plan. Steal the inheritance with fake wills. Then take my child, claiming I was mentally unstable after losing everything. And Pamela would step into my place. His wife. Noah's mother. No. That was not going to happen. I returned all the folders, locked the cabinet. I had the evidence. I knew their plan. It was time for my counterattack. I turned off the light, closed his office. Outside, a light drizzle was falling. I got in my car. It was too late for business calls, but in the morning, the real battle would begin. Ethan expected an easy victory against his trusting wife. Instead, he would receive a lesson he'd never forget. I caressed my barely noticeable belly. Forgive me, little one, I thought. Mommy will do everything to protect you and your brother. As I drove home, I was already drawing up my battle plan. Find a good lawyer. Contact the defrauded families. And prepare a surprise for my dear husband's return. The next morning, I woke with a steely determination. I dropped Noah at daycare, explicitly stating only I or Mrs. Davis could pick him up. Ethan wasn't getting near our son. Then, I requested a leave of absence from my clinic. At home, I locked myself in my study. I found contact information for renowned family and criminal lawyers. The first number I called, Roth and Associates, answered immediately. Mr. Roth, after a brief summary, agreed to meet in 2 hours. Bring all the documents and evidence, he advised. If everything you're telling me is true, we could be looking at a very serious case. My next call was to a private investigator, Andrew Castle. I need a background check on 2 people, Ethan Hayes, and Pamela Serrano, his paralegal. I'm especially interested in their financial situation, connections, and possible accomplices. I agreed to the fee, and paid extra for urgency. Then came the hardest part, contacting the victims. Using the information from the red folders, I started calling the families Ethan had defrauded. The grandson of Antonio Morales, the elderly man whose will Ethan had replaced. My name is Emily Hayes, I began, my voice steady. I have very bad news. Your grandmother was the victim of a fraud. The shock, the disbelief, the anger in his voice, it mirrored my own. But he agreed to meet. By noon, I had a database of victims. The total damage exceeded $20 million. Ethan and Pamela weren't just committing fraud, they had a veritable criminal organization. At Mr. Roth's office, I laid out my evidence, printouts of the fake wills, email copies. The list of victims. Konstantin Roth, a tall, pleasant man, studied them in silence. The scale of this is astonishing, he finally said. Your husband has created an entire system for stealing inheritances. What will happen to me? I asked, my voice small. I'm the wife of a con man. If you're not part of the system, nothing, he assured me. In fact, you are a victim. Your husband planned to strip you of your inheritance and take your son. Plus, there are the emotional damages for the infidelity. And what will happen to him? Grand larceny, forgery of a public document, abuse of power, at least 10 years in prison, maybe more. A strange satisfaction bloomed in my chest. Justice. What do I need to do? First, file a complaint with the NYPD. I'll help you draft it. Second, gather all the victims and organize a class action lawsuit. Third, file for divorce and request full custody of your son. What if Ethan tries to flee? We'll issue an international arrest warrant. With this evidence, he won't get very far. Leaving Roth's office, I felt a sense of relief. The plan was in motion. I had allies. The evidence was gathered. All that was left was to wait for him. On the way home, I checked our joint accounts. Large sums withdrawn, just as I'd expected. He was preparing to flee. But my personal account, opened before we married, still held my savings from years as a doctor. Enough for the lawyer. Enough for us. That evening, Detective Castle sent preliminary data on Pamela Serrano. Married. Victor Serrano, a construction engineer. They lived in a small apartment, had debts. Victor had no idea. Another deceived spouse. I found Victor on social media. Normal guy. Photos with Pamela, smiling, happy. A month later, she was planning to run away with my husband. I messaged him, "Good afternoon. My name is Emily Hayes. I need to talk to you about your wife, Pamela. It's a matter concerning your family. Could we meet tonight?" His reply came quickly, "What happened?" "Pamela's on a business trip." "That's precisely what we need to talk about. It seems not everything is as you believe." We met at a coffee shop. Victor was nervous, but kind-faced. "Victor," I said, getting straight to the point, "what I'm about to tell you may come as a shock, but you have the right to know the truth. Your wife is cheating on you with my husband, and together they are involved in a large-scale fraud scheme." His face went pale. "That's impossible. Pamela wouldn't." "Yes, she is." I showed him the printouts of the text messages, the airport photos. He read in silence, his left eyelid twitching. "Since when?" he asked, his voice weak. "According to the messages, for a year, maybe more." "And the fraud?" "They're stealing inheritances. Pamela helps Ethan forge wills. In 3 years, they've stolen over $20 million. He pushed the papers away, burying his face in his hands. "My God. I thought we were fine. She said she was working overtime for our future. We were planning to buy a bigger apartment, go on vacation. Victor, they were planning to disappear. They only had one last job left, to steal my inheritance. Then they planned to resign and move to Italy. Pamela was going to file for divorce. In the messages, she refers to you as a burden she had to get rid of." His hands clenched. His kind eyes filled with anger and pain. 3 years of marriage. I was crazy about her. I worked 2 jobs, and she. He couldn't finish. "I understand how painful this is for you," I said. "It is for me, too. But we have the opportunity to get justice. We join forces." I explained my plan. Ethan faces a minimum of 10 years. Pamela will lose her job, her reputation, and possibly go to jail as well. All the stolen money will be returned to its rightful heirs. Victor was silent for a long time. "You know," he finally said, "I consider myself a good person. I don't wish harm on anyone. But what Pamela did, it's a betrayal, not just to me, but to all those elderly people they robbed." "So, you agree to help?" "Yes, I do." He was not only decent but practical. He agreed to monitor Pamela, record conversations, gather more evidence. "By the way," he said before leaving, "I have copies of all Pamela's documents, passport, criminal record, tax returns. The bank asked for everything when we applied for a loan. Maybe it will be useful." "I'm sure it will," I replied. Thank you, Victor. If it weren't for you, I'd still be living a lie. He left. I had another ally. At home, Detective Castle's full report awaited. Ethan and Pamela had bought properties under straw men. A condo in Marbella, a house in the mountains, land. Accounts in tax havens in Cyprus and Switzerland. Over $7 million saved. They were preparing for a life of luxury. They wouldn't get it. I promised myself. I slept soundly. Tomorrow, the most important day. Ethan and Pamela would return. And I, from a victim, had become a hunter. The next morning, I woke with the feeling that my life was about to change completely. The sun was shining. I took Noah to daycare and headed to the Central NYPD precinct. Inspector Williams listened intently. When I placed the folder of evidence on his desk, his eyes widened. Grand larceny, he muttered. This is enough for a whole organization. He called Detective Vargas, a formidable woman in her mid-40s. She summarized the situation, then studied my documents. Good work, Emily. Where did you get such detailed material? I explained. She nodded. Technically, you're right. We will open a case. And the arrest? As soon as your husband sets foot in the country, we will arrest him. I signed the complaint, gave my statement. 3 hours later, I left, feeling the law was on my side. Next, Mr. Roth's office. He already had the divorce petition, full custody request, and asset division documents prepared. Plus compensation for emotional damages of $500,000. Isn't that too much? I asked. No. Considering the infidelity, the attempt to strip you of your inheritance, and take your son, it's even a little. At 3 p.m., I met with the victim families. Max Morales, Soledad Castro, all their stories heartbreaking. The total damage approached $20 million. Roth explained the class action lawsuit. When Hayes is arrested, we will freeze his assets, he stated. Everything will go towards compensation. That evening, a message from Victor, Pamela is coming back tomorrow morning. I'm ready. At 10 p.m., Detective Castle called. Emily, your husband and his mistress landed at JFK an hour ago. They're in a taxi right now. Thank you, I said, a chill running down my spine. So, the most exciting part starts tomorrow. The next morning, a call woke me. Ethan's number. Hello? I answered calmly. Emily, it's me. I've landed. His voice was normal, no trace of guilt. How was the trip? Did you like Chicago? Yes, everything was fine. Hey, today I have to go to court for your aunt's inheritance case. Remember I told you about it? Yes, I remember. And what will happen? It's just formalities. The will is in order, but there's a small detail to correct. No problems. He was still lying. Even now. Ethan, can I ask you something? I said, a hint of steel in my voice. How is Pamela? Did she have a business trip, too? A long silence. Pamela? Oh, yes, she's fine. Why? No reason. You mention her a lot lately. She's a good employee, that's all. Well, I have to get ready. See you tonight. Of course, dear. I hung up, a cold smile on my face. He didn't know it, but his court case today would be a monumental disaster. Detective Vargas had promised me he'd be arrested upon arrival. I took Noah to daycare, then headed to the courthouse. I wanted to see it. See the world of the man who planned to destroy my life crumble before my eyes. At 9:30, Ethan arrived, in his best suit, briefcase in hand. Confident. Calm. Beside him, Pamela, in a discreet black dress. I saw him brush her hand. We'll get the last million and be free, I heard him whisper. Free? Yes, free of money, of work, of reputation, I thought. At 10 o'clock, the hearing was set to begin. But it didn't. The judge had been forewarned. Ethan sat with Pamela. I entered, accompanied by Mr. Roth. Ethan saw me, and his face drained of color. "Emily, what are you doing here?" "Defending my rights, dear. The right to Aunt Catherine's inheritance, which you plan to steal." "What are you talking about? What proof?" He stood up, furious. "That's absurd. I'm a lawyer with an impeccable reputation." "Impeccable until yesterday," I said, my voice cutting through the courtroom's silence. Just then, 2 plainclothes officers entered. "Detective Vargas." Ethan recoiled. "Ethan Hayes," Vargas said, "you are under arrest for grand larceny and forgery of a public document. You have the right to remain silent." "What?" "You're mistaken." Pamela shot up. The second officer approached her. "Pamela Serrano, you are under arrest as an accomplice." "I didn't do anything," she shrieked. "It was his idea." "We'll discuss that at the station," the officer replied, indifferent. They handcuffed Ethan. He turned to me, shock and incomprehension in his eyes. "Emily, what's happening? It's a mistake, right?" "There's no mistake, Ethan. You wanted to rob me and take my son. But you miscalculated. Turns out I'm not the foolish, credulous wife you thought I was. But we're a family. The family ended when you decided to cheat on me with Pamela. And especially when you started robbing defenseless elderly people." They let him and Pamela out. Pamela was crying. Ethan walked in silence, his head bowed. "Congratulations," Roth said, shaking my hand. "The first blow was a direct hit." "Thank you," I replied. "But this is just the beginning." Leaving the courthouse, I felt a strange peace. Revenge is a dish best served cold. And today, Ethan had tasted the first bite. The arrest of Ethan and Pamela was just the beginning. At noon, Victor Serrano called, his voice tired. "Emily, Pamela hasn't come home." I told him what happened. He listened in silence. "So, they arrested her?" "Yes. She's in a detention center, along with my almost ex-husband." "Ex-husband?" "I filed for divorce this morning. After what he's done, we have no future." "And Pamela?" "If she cooperates, testifies against Ethan, she might get a suspended sentence. If she remains stubborn, she faces several years as an accomplice in a fraud of this magnitude." Victor was silent. "You know," he finally said, "I thought I'd feel sorry for her. But I don't. She cheated on me, but also all those people they robbed. Let the law deal with her." He agreed to testify. That afternoon, I picked up Noah. He asked where Daddy was. "Daddy did something wrong," I said honestly. "Now he has to answer for it." "Will he come back?" "Not soon. Maybe he'll never come back. Now it will just be you and me." Noah, like a little philosopher, nodded. "Mommy, you won't leave me, right?" "Never, my love. Mommy will never leave you." The next day, Detective Vargas summoned me. 4 hours of detailed statements. "Emily," she said at the end, "thanks to you, we've uncovered a huge fraudulent scheme. More victims than we thought. 12 families. Total damage exceeds $35 million. My husband's crime was even greater than I'd imagined." "And the accomplices?" I asked. "Besides Pamela, we've identified 2 more, a real estate appraiser and an agent. They helped manage the stolen properties. They were already arrested." Mr. Roth had more good news. My divorce petition was accepted. Quick process. Custody of Noah? Ethan would lose his parental rights. All his assets were frozen, for victim compensation. My apartment, my aunt's inheritance, the Upper East Side apartment, the house in the mountains, the bank deposits. It would all be mine. Mentally, I calculated. I would be a wealthy woman. But then, a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. The stress. The shock. Everything went black. I woke in a hospital. I had lost the baby. The pregnancy terminated. I cried until I was empty. When I calmed down, I called Mrs. Davis to pick up Noah. I spent 3 days in the hospital. Returning home, I knew I had to move forward. For Noah. That evening, Detective Castle called. Emily, I have news about your husband's financial dealings. 3 more accounts in tax havens. Total stolen money exceeds $45 million. He prepared his escape thoroughly. Could it be recovered? The process is complex, but there's a chance. The next day, an unexpected call. Pamela Serrano. From the detention center. Emily, it's Pamela. They gave me one call. I'm listening. I want to tell everything. Testify against Ethan. But I have one condition. Meet with me. There are things you need to know. About what Ethan planned to do to you and your son. It's much worse than you think. Curiosity overcame my aversion. I agreed. The detention center was grim. Pamela looked terrible. Hair messy, eyes red. No trace of the self-assured woman from the airport. Thank you for coming. I'm listening. I never wanted to hurt you. Ethan told me you hadn't loved each other for a long time, that divorce was inevitable. I was in love, blind and stupid. He promised he'd marry me, that we'd buy a house in Italy. Children. She paused. I'm pregnant, Emily. With Ethan's child. I found out last week. A pang shot through me. He was having a child with her, while my baby hadn't survived. Why do you think it's Ethan's? My husband and I were careful because I was going to leave him for yours. And what else did you want to tell me about Ethan's plans? He didn't just plan to divorce you. He planned to kill you. After you gave birth. Make it look like an accident or postpartum depression. My blood ran cold again. Are you kidding me? No. He has contacts in the criminal world. People who know how to eliminate obstacles. Ethan said it was simpler. No need to divide assets in the divorce. And you kept quiet? I thought he wasn't serious. Just words. Then he showed me pictures of those people, explained how they worked. I got scared. But it was too late. I was his accomplice. So, he not only planned to rob me, but to kill me. I had been miraculously saved by discovering his plans at the airport. Pamela, do you have proof? Text messages with those people. Ethan thought he deleted them all, but I took screenshots. Saved them on a USB drive. At my house. In a pink box on my dresser. Why are you telling me this? Because I realized Ethan is a monster. He used me just like he used you. And when he no longer needed me, he would have discarded me, too. And Victor? Victor is a good man. I was an idiot to betray him. Now I want to redeem part of my guilt. I went straight to Detective Vargas. A contract killing? She asked, aghast. Pamela is willing to testify and has evidence. This isn't just fraud. It's an organized crime group. Vargas immediately organized a search of Pamela's apartment. The USB drive was found. Texts between Ethan and 2 men, Miguel Moreno and Dennis Castano. We need to solve the problem with the wife radically, Ethan had written. After she gives birth, she's depressed. A suicide wouldn't be surprising. Understood. Payment? $200,000. Half up front, half after. Agreed. I read the messages. A chilling terror. Not just cheating, but a cold-blooded plan to eliminate me. Moreno and Castano were arrested. Weapons, false documents, messages from other clients. Ethan was just one of many. This is turning into a federal case, Vargas said. Attempted murder will be added to the fraud charge. He's not facing 10 years, but much more. Justice. Complete. A week later, the investigation escalated. Colonel Samuel Black, head of the Organized Crime Unit, met me. Thanks to you, we've uncovered a large criminal network. But we believe your husband is not the leader. Just an enforcer. He has a boss? Someone who provides information about victims, organizes stolen properties, gives him protection. Pamela mentioned an Uncle Nick. Who is he? We don't know yet. Ethan refuses to talk. But we have leads. Black showed me photos. Ethan meeting an older man near a restaurant. Face turned away. Does this face look familiar? No. Ethan had access to notary databases. But information about private clients, their income, properties, that came from somewhere else. IRS? Banking system? It clicked. How did Ethan know the marital status of clients, their heirs, their savings? Could Uncle Nick be that source? Very likely. That's why we need your help. Ethan has to contact him himself. Why would he do that? If we promise him a reduced sentence, or, if he thinks he can escape. You mean you'll break him out of jail? Under our control. Ethan will try to contact his boss. We will catch the contact, and get to Uncle Nick. The plan was risky, but tempting. To capture the entire network. Agreed. What do I have to do? Visit your husband in jail. Tell him you're willing to forgive him, to help him. Maybe he'll share information about his boss. But I've filed for divorce. Tell him you've changed your mind. That love is stronger than resentment. You have to convince him of your sincerity. The next day, I visited Ethan. He looked terrible. Unshaven, thin, in a prison uniform. Nothing left of his arrogance. Emily, I can't believe it. You came? Yes, I came. I sat across from him. How's Noah? And the baby? Forgive me. I was a fool. Pamela tricked me. The money blinded me. They're fine, I lied. I've been thinking a lot about us. About our family. Hope flickered in his eyes. And what conclusion did you come to? That I don't want to destroy our family because of your mistakes. Yes, you were wrong, but we can fix everything. Are you willing to forgive me? I am. On one condition. Tell them the whole truth about your accomplices. About who helped you. Gave you information. Maybe the investigation will be lenient and reduce your sentence. He hesitated. Emily, it's complicated. There are people, it's better not to bother. What kind of people? Ethan, you're facing life in prison. There can be nothing worse. Yes, there is. People like me don't last long in prison, especially if they find out I've ratted out the wrong people. Who are you talking about? He looked around, paranoid. Uncle Nick. Nicholas Ortega. Deputy Commissioner of the IRS. He runs the whole operation. I struggled to hide my shock. A high-ranking government official. What exactly does he do? He provides information on wealthy taxpayers, lists of properties, data on heirs, marital status. And he also provides protection. If any relative suspects, he buries the case. In exchange for what? Half the profits. Ortega takes the largest share. But he also runs the greatest risk. And now, he probably wants to get rid of me. I know too much about his connections, his foreign accounts, his shell companies. What if the investigation guarantees your safety? What safety? Ortega has connections in the DA's office, in the courts, in the prison. He'll get to me anywhere. I realized I had crucial information. And what if you escape? Escape to where? I'm in a detention center. Anything can happen. A transfer to court, a medical checkup. Even if you escape, where would you go? Without money, without documents? To see Uncle Nick? He'll help you if you're useful to him. Ortega would only help me hide if I'm useful to him. And now I'm a risk, a burden. But if you offer him something valuable. Like what? Information about the investigation. What they know, what they don't. You know, maybe you're right. If I tell Ortega how the investigation is going, warn him of the danger, maybe he'll help me flee the country. Try to contact him from here. All calls are monitored. Through a lawyer, or by passing a note to a cellmate. He looked at me, doubt returning. Emily, are you sure you're on my side? You're not working for the investigation? I feigned hurt. Ethan, I'm your wife, the mother of your children. Of course, I'll always be on your side. Sorry, I think I'm going crazy in these walls. I understand. The important thing is that we find a way to get you out of here. He believed me. He promised to try to contact Ortega. I left with a sense of victory. In the car, I immediately called Colonel Black. Samuel, I have a name. Nicholas Ortega, Deputy Commissioner of the IRS. Ortega. Wow. We've long suspected his corruption, but had no proof. Now we will. Ethan is willing to contact him. Excellent. Let's start the operation. Operation Vengeance. Colonel Black personally supervised. My active participation ended there. It's too dangerous, he explained. Ortega is a serious adversary. If he finds out you're working for us, he might try to eliminate you. I agreed to stay on the sidelines but asked to be kept informed. 3 days later, Ethan's escape was staged. During a transfer to the courthouse, the transport van had an accident. In the chaos, Ethan escaped. In reality, he was released under agent control. He ran, borrowed a student's phone, and dialed Ortega's number from memory. Nicholas, it's Ethan. Are you crazy calling me directly? Ortega's voice was furious. I had no choice. I've escaped, but they'll find me soon. I need help. What help? You're burned. Documents. Money. A way out. I have information about the investigation. They know about you. They're looking for an Uncle Nick. They're about to locate you. A long silence. Where are you now? In the city, with a borrowed phone. I'll hide in the basement of an abandoned building. Vasquez Street, number 15. Back basement. Wait there. In an hour, someone will come for you. The call cut off. Ethan returned the phone and headed to the location, agents trailing. An hour later, a black Audi arrived. 2 men got out, entered the basement. Ethan, one shouted. I'm here, Ethan replied. Let's go. The boss is waiting. They put him in the car. 3 teams followed. The Audi stopped near a luxury restaurant, the Monarch. They took Ethan through a back entrance to a private office. Nicholas Ortega, a man in his 60s with gray hair and cold eyes, sat behind a large desk. 2 bodyguards stood beside him. Well, Ethan, Ortega said, annoyed. What a mess you've made. Nicholas, it's not my fault. My wife turned out to be smarter than I thought. Your wife is a minor problem. The problem is that you got caught, and that means you're dragging us all down. But I haven't said anything. I've been quiet as a tomb. For now, you're quiet. But what will happen when you face life in prison? You'll sing like a canary. I'll keep quiet. I promise. Ethan, you've disappointed me. I invested a lot in you. I gave you the chance to make millions, and you've ruined everything for a woman. Give me a chance to fix it. Help me get out of the country. I'll disappear forever. Ortega smirked. Abroad? Do you take me for a fool? In a month, you'd rat me out to foreign special services in exchange for asylum. No, I have a more radical idea. You die today. In an escape attempt. The dead don't testify. Ethan turned pale. Nicholas, you can't do that. I can, and I will. Alejandro, Victor, he said to his bodyguards, take him to the woods. Let him be breakfast for the wild dogs. The bodyguards approached. Ethan recoiled. Wait. I have information. About the investigation. They're planning an operation against you. They know about your accounts. Ortega turned sharply. What did you say? Your wife works for the police? Yes. She's found out about your plans. They plan to arrest you tomorrow. You're lying. No. Check it if you want. At that moment, the office door burst open. Agents in bulletproof vests. Hands up. Ortega tried to draw a weapon but was quickly subdued. His bodyguards didn't resist. Nicholas Ortega, you are under arrest for organizing a criminal group, corruption, and involvement in fraud. Colonel Black himself put the handcuffs on Ortega. The game is over, Nicholas. We know about your foreign accounts, your shell companies, your bribes. Enough for several life sentences. Ortega glared at Ethan. In the end, you betrayed me, you bastard. You will rot in jail, rat. The arrest of Ortega was a bombshell. A corrupt official, mastermind of a criminal scheme that had stolen over $1 billion. Front page news. I saw it all on TV. Ethan and Ortega in handcuffs. Justice had triumphed. Colonel Black called me. The operation was a success. Thanks to you, we've dismantled the largest corruption scheme in recent years. A week later, my divorce from Ethan was finalized in half an hour. Leaving the courthouse, I felt light. A dark chapter closed. Ahead, a new beginning. Pamela, thanks to her cooperation, was sentenced to 3 years. She decided to keep her child. 6 months after Ethan's arrest, my life completely transformed. I received my aunt's inheritance, sold the apartment, and bought a large house with a garden outside New York. A quiet place for Noah, now 5, to play. I worked in a small private clinic, flexible hours, good income. Noah adapted quickly. Mommy, will I get a new daddy? He asked once. I want one who is good and doesn't hurt us. If we get a new daddy, I assure you he will be good. I wasn't lying. After Ethan, I was cautious. Trust had to be earned. Victor Serrano became a frequent visitor. First, for repairs around the house. Then, the visits became less professional. He was wonderful. Honest, reliable, hardworking. Noah adored him. Uncle Victor, can you be my daddy? Noah asked. Victor blushed, looking at me. That's not for me to decide, Noah. Later, that evening, after Noah was asleep, Victor said, Emily, I have to tell you something. I'm in love with you. I was silent, weighing my words. I liked Victor, too. But after Ethan, I was terrified to open my heart. Victor, I need time to think. Of course. I'm in no hurry. We dated for 3 more months before I agreed to a serious relationship. He was patient. Understanding. Our wedding was simple, intimate. Mr. Roth attended, by then a true friend. Emily, you are incredibly brave, he toasted. Few women are capable of fighting so masterfully for justice. You are an inspiration. Colonel Black sent a telegram, your courage uncovered a huge criminal scheme. You are a true hero. That night, on the terrace, Victor held my hand. Are you happy? I asked. For having joined your life with a woman with a past like mine? Emily, your past shows what a strong person you are. You didn't break. You didn't become bitter. You didn't give up. On the contrary, you fought until the end. There are very few women like that. And you're not afraid that I'll discover something again? I joked. I'm terrified, he said, seriously. That's why I will always be honest with you. It would hurt me more to deceive you than anything else. We laughed. He was an open book. No secrets. No double life. The trial of Ethan, Ortega, and their accomplices was the case of the century. I attended every session as a victim and witness. Painful to see Ethan again, but necessary. He looked terrible, aged, his sparkle gone. He tried to justify himself. I didn't want to hurt my wife. I was confused. Influenced by Ortega. And the attempted murder of your wife, did he force you to do that, too? The prosecutor asked. I wasn't going to kill her. They were just words. We have text messages with the hitmen. You paid a down payment of $100,000. He fell silent. Ortega was more stoic. He didn't justify. Didn't blame. Just silence. The sentence was harsh. Nicholas Ortega, life in prison. Ethan Hayes, 31 years. Pamela, 3 years. Leaving the courthouse, I felt a deep relief. Finally, it was over. Ethan would no longer cheat, steal, or betray. Victor was waiting outside with Noah. It's over, I told him, holding him tight. He got 31 years. That's a long time, Victor said. It's fair. For such a crime and a murder plot, it should be more. And how do you feel? I thought about it. Peace, I finally replied. Justice has been served. Now we can move on. 5 years passed. My life settled. My reputation as a doctor, impeccable. Victor and I had a daughter, Anna. Noah adored his little sister. Now we have a big family, Victor said, watching them at the table. Just like I always dreamed. I was happy. After everything, I cherished the warmth of home, loyalty, the simple joy of motherhood. Ethan never wrote, never called. Noah almost forgot his biological father. Victor was his dad. Where's my real daddy? Noah asked one morning. He lives very far away, I replied. He did something bad, and now he's paying for it. Will he come back? Not soon. And even if he comes back, we won't have contact with him. Because he hurt our family. And you have to stay away from people who hurt you. Noah nodded. Children understand more than adults think. The victim families received full compensation. Many became my friends, forever grateful. You saved our family, Max Morales' mother said on my birthday. If it weren't for you, we would have lost everything. I was just defending myself, I replied. And helping others was something that came up. Colonel Black still called from time to time. How are you, Emily? Very well, Samuel. We live quietly, raising the children. No crime stories. No more, thank God. Once was enough. He always ended with, it's a shame. You'd make a great detective. Thank you, I'd laugh. But I prefer to heal people than to catch criminals. On the 5th anniversary of Ethan's arrest, we were at our country house. My 3-year-old, Anna, on my lap, asked, Mommy, tell me the story of the bad uncle. The children knew a watered-down version. Once upon a time, I began, there was a bad uncle who cheated people. He stole their houses and money. And he also wanted to steal our house. And what did Mommy do? Mommy found out his plans and told the police. And the police caught the bad uncle and put him in jail. Anna beamed. And he won't get out? Not soon. And when he gets out, we'll live somewhere else. And Daddy Victor will still be with us. Of course, sweetie. Daddy Victor will always be with us. Anna ran off to play. Victor came over, hugged me, and sat beside me. We sat in silence, holding hands, watching our children. In 5 years, we'd learned to value the simple joys. Family dinners. Laughter. Late-night conversations. Plans for the future. Somewhere, Ethan was serving his sentence, thinking about how stupidly he'd lost everything. Pamela was raising a child in another city, trying to forget. Ortega was spending his last days in a cell. And I had built a new life on the ruins of the old one. Without lies. Without betrayals. Without fear. With love, trust, and faith in justice. It's a story of family secrets unveiled, of betrayal, and of a woman's fierce fight for justice. Have you ever faced a betrayal this deep? What would you have done if your entire world was threatened like mine was? Tell me what you think in the comments below, I really want to know.